Lane Kiffin is burning bridges. Hugh Freeze speaks after being fired from Auburn, and Auburn has found their new coach. This is the Third Down Conversation. Let's talk about it. Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss. What a situation. What a divorce. This situation is kind of comical when you think about it. I mean, this situation screams Real Housewives of Oxford, Mississippi. Everybody's talking about it. And I've got a bit of a different stance than most people. And that stance is, I understand where Lane is coming from. Like, when you really think about it, he's not too far off with how he feels. This has been a 3-year bill for Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels. A 3-year bill. In 2023, they go 10-2, barely missed the playoffs. In 2024, they go 10-2 and barely missed the playoffs. 2025, they go 11-1 and are playoff bound. So, of course, if I'm Lane Kiffin, I want to finish. This is what I've been building towards. This is what the team, the players, the administration, the NIL collective, we all been working toward this one goal of making the playoffs and potentially winning the national championship. And we actually accomplished that. And now you telling me I can't coach him? Like, I can't finish what we started? Imagine that for a second. That everything you've done at your job, you're about to see it completed. And your boss comes to you and say, you're fired. You can't finish. Won't even let you work out a 2-week notice. That would make me upset. All because I took another job? You gave off the impression that you would understand if I took said job. However, if you're Ole Miss, you for sure feel differently, because this strikes me as a person being told a story and they respond by saying, you handled that situation wrong. You should have handled it with more maturity. And then when said situation actually happens to them, they realize they aren't that mature. Like, I'm not that mature. God is still working on me. And they weren't going for it. Because if you read Keith Carter's address to the public, to their fan base, to their community, that message reads, Coach Kiffin and I have had many pointed and positive conversations regarding his future at Ole Miss, including meeting with the chancellor. While we discuss next steps, we know we cannot lose sight of what is most important, and that is their 6th ranked team is poised to finish the regular season in historic fashion. He continues by saying the team is on the cusp of an unprecedented season, and it's imperative that they feel the support of the Ole Miss family, and that an announcement of Coach Kiffin's future will be expected following the Egg Bowl. That message reads like, we're going to be mature adults and go about this divorce the right way. One would even assume, because I did, that Ole Miss is going to let him finish what he started. Well, Keith Carter, Ole Miss's AD, and Ole Miss realized that they are not that mature. When when Lane informs them that I'm leaving, Ole Miss went from saying, yeah, you could possibly coach the game, you can be there for the team, let's focus on that, to being like, get out, sir, get out. They even put his clothes out on the curb. You can actually Google that. They put his clothes on the curb out of his office. Like they were upset. And honestly, Ole Miss should be upset. They really should be. Because Lane, in my opinion, purposely dragged out his answer. He didn't really give them a full answer until like Sunday. And by the time he gave them his decision, all the major dominoes had already fallen. Auburn hires their coach. Florida hires their coach. Arkansas hires their coach. And he pretty much held Ole Miss hostage. Maybe he got the sense that they were not going to let him coach in the playoffs. So he decided, you know what, I'm going to go into delay and put them in a situation to where they won't have any other options but to let me finish. Well, he gets wrong. Because they said we good. Which infuriated Lane to the point where he told his coaches, when I leave, y'all better leave with me on this plane or you won't have a job. That's how mad he was. like that's intense. That is really intense. But I don't blame Ole Miss at all. I get it, because Ole Miss is thinking, you leaving us to go to LSU? We're better than LSU. That's what they believe. You can win here. That's what Ole Miss believe. If you look at the last 3 years, even the last 4 years, Lane could win at Ole Miss. He definitely could win at Ole Miss. Hugh Freeze. He's done a few interviews this past week that surfaced. One with David Pollack, another with Justin Hokanson from Auburn Live, and I listened to both interviews. Gave them both a good listen, and there were 2 takeaways from that interview with Justin Hokanson that I wanna point out. The first is this. Hokanson asked Hugh Freeze about booster involvement and, just what he experienced from that standpoint. Freeze responded by saying he really didn't experience anything on that front. He felt like the people that were, the main boosters, he had a good relationship with, and they never tried to control anything, never tried to control him. He believes that narrative is not true. Now, he did go on to say that maybe John Cohen, who was Auburn's AD, protected him from it. Or maybe John Cohen came in and changed all that. But he reiterated that that wasn't his experience, so he doesn't really know where that narrative comes from. This narrative is, in my opinion, just ridiculous, because at most Power 4 schools, boosters are involved, especially now, because you're asking for their money. You can't expect to ask for somebody's money to help fund your roster, your program, and also be like, you have no control, you have no say-so. That's not how it works. Think about when you spend money on something, and when you receive said product, it ain't what you expected. Don't you complain? You quick to hit up customer service. You quick to take it back because it's not what you expected. You feel like you got a right to voice your opinion because your money is involved. This would be no different. And this happens at every school. It's not an Auburn problem. It's a college football problem. But you let the media tell it, or Alabama fans tell it, it only happens at Auburn. Best believe it's happening in Tuscaloosa. With Nick Saban, not so much. But DeBoer, always happening there. In Georgia currently, not so much. Why? Well, he's won 2 national championships. So they know their money is good to go. They getting good return on investment. Auburn can't say that. Florida can't say that. LSU can't say that. Plus, you need booster involvement. I know this sounds crazy, but I think you do. And here's why. Because as an AD, when you go out and hire a coach, you're expecting this coach to make you look good, to make you look like you know what you're doing as far as your decision making. Imagine being a manager and you go out and you hire somebody, and that person is just not doing the job well. Think about how long it takes you to fire that person. All the steps you got to take. Why do you believe you go through all those steps? Because you know if I fire this person, it's a bad reflection on me. Because the people above me are going to ask one question. Why is this manager having so much turnover? So that makes you look bad. As an AD, you're going to hang on to coaches longer than you should that you hire because you got faith in them, number one. Number two, you're praying and hoping that they make you look good, because if they don't, you know you out of a job. And that's where your boosters come in at. Because they come and tell you, hey, yo, buddy ain't getting it done. Buddy got to go. That's just what it is. That's how it works. They play a role in this whole system. You want their money, they have input. They also help you take your beer goggles off and see that the coach you hired, he's a dud. I'm not calling Freeze a dud, but hey, if the shoe fits, wear it. The next part of the interview that I want to point out is this. And this is being clipped, and I genuinely believe it's being kind of misinterpreted. Justin Hokanson asks Hugh Freeze if he was surprised that the system, the offense, the team did not work with Jackson Arnold. And Freeze responds by saying, yes, he was surprised by that because in practice, he would perform well. And he goes on to say, let's be clear, this is not a beat-up Jackson. But certainly, it didn't work out to the level that he nor I both expected for him and our team. And that's why I'm sitting here. Now, that makes it sound like, and the way it's being like clipped around, Twitter and social media, like Freeze is blaming Jackson Arnold for being fired. And I think that's not true. I don't think he's blaming him at all. I think he's just answering the question. Because Justin Hokanson also said you went all in on Jackson Arnold. And everyone knew going into this season that Hugh was going to remain at Auburn or fail and be fired by Auburn if Jackson Arnold worked out or not. That is because he decided to go with Peyton Thorne the last 2 seasons prior to this one. So everything was on Jackson's shoulders. And truthfully, that's not fair to Jackson at all, but that was the situation that he agreed to. Did he cause Hugh to get fired? No, he did not. And I don't believe Hugh was saying that either. He even said that you can't put it all on the quarterback, which I agree with. The quarterback is just the easiest person to blame because they have the ball all the time. He goes on to say that in Oklahoma, yes, Jackson missed some throws, and he did. However, against A&M, the team did have a lot of drops that game. Against Georgia, unfortunate luck. I mean, they should have been up 17-0, maybe even 21-0. And and it just didn't work out. But a lot of clips around social media or people are kind of reposting that little piece I read from the interview and making it sound like Hugh is blaming Jackson. And that's just not true. He's not blaming Jackson. What he is saying is, I got fired because I couldn't get that spot correct. I couldn't get the quarterback position correct. And I think he's also saying that he put too much on him. Knowing that Jackson was coming from a shaky situation in Oklahoma, he probably should have went with a more surefire quarterback option. But he took a risk. And it didn't work out. They both thought it would, but in practice, he lit it up. But under the lights, 88,000, Jackson didn't come through. And ultimately, Freeze is responsible for that. Auburn has found their next coach, and it is former South Florida coach, former offensive coordinator of Tennessee, Alex Golesh. Alex Golesh is coming from South Florida, and before he got there, South Florida had won 3 games in a total of like 4 years. That's bad. His first year there, they go 7-6. His second year, 7-6, and this year, 9-3. He turned around a completely awful and dreadful program and made it very, very respectable. Most people are going to expect a high-flying, passing the ball all over the field type of offense. I even expected that because I thought about those years at Tennessee where they were scoring like, 35, 40 points a game. They had the best wide receiver in the country. Hendon Hooker looked like a borderline college starter. But when he got with Alex Golesh in Tennessee and Josh Heupel, that whole offensive scheme, dude, he looked like a first rounder. Like, he looked like a first round quarterback. And so I was expecting that. But upon further research, this is more of a physical form of offense that we will see. They like to run the ball. Golesh said himself they're going to run the heck out of the ball. And they do it in a very unconventional way. The receivers are split out very wide, and it's just more of a outside zone type of run game. Like, even this season, Tennessee is going to rush for 2,000 yards. Usually they're around 2,500. And I bring up Tennessee because the offense is going to look very, very similar to what Tennessee runs. South Florida this year, they're averaging 43 points a game. 43 points a game. That's crazy. They rush for 225 a game, and they pass for 276 a game. That is called balance. So we should see a very balanced attack at Auburn. And frankly, I am excited about the hire. It came out of left field. John Summerall was thought to be the clear-cut guy. The media feels like Summerall is next, and he may be. But this out of the blue, out of left field hire by Auburn, I mean, I love it. I love it. It feels different. He seems like a guy that's process-driven, detail-driven, which is something Auburn needs desperately. He keeps DJ Durkin, which is massive as far as roster retention. So Auburn has their next coach. I'm excited for what he is going to bring to the team. He's used to the South. He's coming from Florida. He's also got ties to Tennessee and the Ohio area. So recruiting-wise, that's a large footprint, and I think he's going to do well on that front as well because he just seemed like a go-getter type coach. But the thing I'm most excited about is he doesn't golf. He does not golf, and he does not care about losing close. He cares about winning and winning only. So I love it. Awesome hire by Auburn. Very, very good job by John Cohen. So excited for next season. But this has been the Third Down Conversation. Please like, share, and subscribe to the show. I'm so close to 500 downloads. If you could just get me there, I think I'm like maybe 10 away. So just share it with anybody. Let's hit that 500. Jesus loves you, and I'm out. Peace.